In that state, you feel like you can handle anything, even hard things, because life is hard sometimes. It's messy, it's unfair, it's all of those things.
And it's never too late. Even if you've messed up majorly, if you can do that, it's never too late.
No, you take those lessons and then you move forward.
Hi guys, welcome to the 8th episode of The Calm and Confident Mum. My guest today is Lana, and she is a certified coach and a speaker who for the last 10 years has helped her clients move beyond insecurity by helping them find what is truly coming between themselves and the freedom they truly desire. She's the co-author of Women and Confidence, The Truth About the Lives We Tell Ourselves, and the co-author of 2 online programs, Confidence in a Box and The Confident Coach. I love this quote. It is, be the kind of woman that when your feet hit the floor every morning, the devil says, oh crap, she's up. I don't think I read that very well. In my head, it sounded really good. Be the kind of woman that when your feet hit the floor, the devil says, crap, she's up.
That's, it's funny because I have it right there on my wall. Whoops, here we go. Right there.
Oh, okay.
And I gave the same thing to both of my daughters so that they kind of remember, it's a fun, it puts the energy in you.
But that shows that, I'm so powerful. We are so powerful.
That's right. We are. We just don't realize it.
Yeah. Why did you write a book on confidence for women when there's so much information on the internet and so many courses? Why did you, and what is so can you see what it says? It says the truth about the lies we tell ourselves.
Okay, so the reason I wrote the book with one of my colleagues was because as coaches ourselves, we kept running up against the same issue with most of the people we were talking to. So as we discussed whatever issues they were dealing with, and we were coaching around that, and what it finally came down to with almost everybody without a fault was a story around I'm not enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm broken, or some quality that they felt was fixed within them that made them less than. So we thought we need to tackle this in a book in a way that isn't being tackled right now, because most of the books out there, as wonderful as they are, often they have you doing something in order to get more confidence. And the way we were shaping this was, it's not something that you need to do, it's something you need to see. You need to see that you actually are already, by design, confident. That sense of well-being is already in you. It's your default setting. We're born with it. And we recognize this in babies. I mean, babies are just expansive, and they're in the world, and they're loving life, and they're moving through it.
And they want your attention. They don't care what time they wake you up to get your attention.
We can see it. We can see their presence. We can see how vital and that life force in them. And they don't hang on to identity. They're just in the world. As we get older, we start to shape our identity. And what that's made of is thought. So if you can see that, oh, I'm already okay. There's a well-being within me. I have a resource, qualities within me that are natural, that are innate. And then I think. And it's that thinking, that story, that's starting to mold an identity, a separateness, that then creates stories about insecurity, about not enoughness, about being broken, needing to be fixed. So this is the way we were kind of turning everything on its head and saying, whoa, 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 what if you're actually already confident? You're okay. And then you think, and that thinking, that story that you believe creates a feeling of insecurity.
Yeah, because I love when you talk about being born with it. When you're little and you do you say your little child comes home with a scribbly picture or something, they love it. They share it to everybody. They think everybody should love it. They've got no qualms about what it looks like. And then, when they're like in late primary school, like 7 or 8, they'll still do it, lesser extent. And by the time they're a teenager, they ain't showing anybody anything. It's like, what are you looking at? No, it's not that good, is it? No, you're not gonna see it. Don't put it up on the fridge. Don't put it anywhere.
Yeah, you're embarrassing me. Yeah,
It's
I'm not.
like,
Yeah,
oh.
I know. I know. I can remember my daughter when she, was about 12. She said to me, "Mom, how come when I was really little, I didn't care what other people thought about me, and now suddenly I do?" And that makes me feel so self-conscious. So it limits me. It limits how I show up in the world. And it was in showing her how the role of thought in our life, when you see how our brain, and I have a little prop here because this is what I use with my clients. Like, this is our brain, right? Our brain is like a little machine. It's like chugging away, telling us about the world out there constantly. It's constantly talking to us and narrating what's happening, and look at over there, and look at this, and this is how you fit in, and da 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 da. And it's just going on and on and on. And there's nothing wrong with this. This isn't like the enemy or anything. And at the same time, you have to recognize that its role in our life is to protect, to sort of see the world out there and help us navigate, or at least that's what it thinks. And it is our friend because it wants the best out of us and for us, but it's not very wise. It likes patterns, it likes certainty, and it grabs onto things and makes a whole big story about it, which, if you actually question it, doesn't often make sense. And when you look at what your brain, your mind is doing, quite often it's also contradicting itself. So one day you're going to think, "Oh yeah, life's great," and the next day it's like, "Oh, life is so hard to do." Well, that's all coming from this little machine that is fluctuating all the time, moving. I mean, if you notice, our thoughts are always moving. We can't predict them. And with our thoughts come our feelings. So if we're thinking a lot about ourselves and how we show up in the world, and we compare ourselves to other people, we're going to start feeling that. And if our brain is showing a lack, like, "Oh, you don't measure up to that, you don't look good here, you're stupid," or whatever it's saying, we're going to feel whatever we're thinking. That's how we create our reality. But the key is to recognize that that's thought. That's what a brain does. It narrates our life, and we don't have to believe it. Just thought.
It's I love the picture of the brain. I want one of those little characters. It's interesting when you're actually talking about children and what they believe, and then the brain, that little thing you had in your hand. And I'm finding it a bit sad that something so valuable and something so precious, something so amazing as this little beautiful brain then gets programmed out of itself. Yeah. And then as adult women, we then have to figure out how to get back in tune with how to reset ourselves, almost how to get back in. Because I do believe we were born with it as well. So, but then
and I mean, that's the thing. This is the human experience, right? we come into this world and we're free for the most part. We come in free. I mean, we don't care if as babies we've thrown up on Aunt Gertrude's precious purse. Like, that means nothing to us. Who cares? That's just what I've done. We don't have tantrums and then an hour later say, "Mom, I want to talk to you about this. I think we need to talk through my tantrum." We don't hang on to any of that. And usually, I mean, this whole idea of not enoughness, it's usually, a moment in time in our childhood that our little child brain has an experience, we have an experience, and this brain comes in and says, ooh, oh, I didn't like that feeling. Whatever that was, I don't like that. And okay, I'm here to protect you. So what do I need to do? What do I need to advise you to do in order to not feel that again? And it starts to create a story around that feeling and avoiding that feeling, and then who you are. Now, the good thing is, though, what we tend to misunderstand is we misunderstand the feeling. We think the feeling of insecurity is trying to tell us a truth about us.
No.
You're not enough. And our brain has this negative bias that it then looks for the evidence and collects it and goes, see, like, look at all this evidence. And it filters out anything that doesn't follow that perception of us. But the good thing is, like, what we misunderstand is that that feeling isn't telling us a truth. It's going to feel real because that's how it's designed. We feel our thinking. So it's going to feel real and it's going to be painful, but it's not telling us the truth. That feeling of tension, insecurity, that feeling is actually saying, hey, wake up. Look where your mind is. Look where your thinking is. It's not true. It's just what your mind is producing in this moment. And it's a way, it's beautiful design. It's a way of trying to wake us up, nudge us awake to say, this isn't you. That's why it feels so awful, because it's not actually our true nature, which is like this expansiveness, these amazing qualities of certainty and confidence and love and compassion and resiliency. Those are our true nature.
So as it's trying to wake us up, there's something ginormous, it feels like, in us, trying to resist it and go, you know what, I'm just going to distract myself over here, over here, over here, over here. I'm really busy. I don't have time to do all that right now. I'll face it and reflect and do whatever it needs to be done later on, and you shove it down the line. Yeah. So what are the techniques we can do to actually feel safe and okay to explore it?
Well, I love that you use the word safe, because that's what this thing loves. This thing loves safety. It loves certainty. It loves being able to explain the world out there, because if it's not explained in nice little packages, it gets scared. So this thing loves to be able to create the certainty out there. So one of the things you can do, one of the first things, it always comes down to awareness. Like, what is your awareness level about how you narrate your life? What is the relationship you have with your thinking? So if, for example, your relationship with your thinking is, well, it's all serious, it's all true, and I take it really, really personally, that is going to make for a harder life. Because anytime you have insecure thought, you're going to believe it. It's going to be personal. You're going to take it seriously. And it's going to shape and affect how you see the world, how you see anything. So the first thing is really like, what is my relationship with this narrator? Do I actually see that there's a narrator in there narrating my life? Can I see that, wow, I'm the thinker, and I'm also aware that I'm thinking? Can you make that distinction? Can you see that there's a space between being the thinker and also being aware that you think?
So how do you get into that space? Sorry.
How do
you get into that space where you can have some sense that there is a narrator, that there is more to what you're just what you're feeling?
Yeah. Well, let me give you, sometimes it's easiest to give you an example that isn't around thinking. Okay. So for example, I can look at my hand, right? And I see there's a hand there. So that's like, there's a space there, but I can also be in my hand. So I can shift. And if you want to try it too, you can shift and you can look at your hand. And then you can also now be in your hand.
I could think, yeah.
Can you feel that difference?
Yeah. I can actually feel like it's not tingling, but I can feel like how my fingers feel, I can almost feel the blood circulating almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like when you're in your hand, that's like when we're in our thinking, when we're like one with our thinking. We believe that we are our thoughts. That's the misunderstanding, because we aren't our thoughts. We have thought, and it's moving through us. And the nature of thought is to constantly be moving. But because its nature is to move, that can't possibly be us, because it's always changing. But when we can see the hand, suddenly there's that space. When we can see thought, we can see it moving, we realize, oh, that's thought. That's moving through me. And if I just wait a minute, there's going to be another thought. If I don't hang in there and go, oh, yep, that's me, that's mine, that's who I am my thought, we're going to struggle. That's where all suffering resides, in our thinking and believing it and being enmeshed with it. Another example, like if you really want to have, like, get a better sense of how this works, like what your true nature is. And the other little prop that I often use is this. I think I might have showed you this before. It's the Russian nesting dolls. And like our true nature is actually the small one inside. That's the one that's whole, that's expansive, that's full of confidence, full of resiliency, full of love and compassion and creativity. I mean, and this is the one, this tiny little one, this is the one that is the only one that doesn't break open. It's solid. This is our true nature. And then we put some thought about who we are, how we show up in the world, and we start to mistake our thinking for who we are, and that's not true. So the exercise that I could give you, which is a wonderful exercise that one of my colleagues, one of my mentors shared with me, imagine a moment when you were at your best. So picture a time when you were absolutely at your best, you were in flow. And if you have that moment in your mind's eye, you're feeling it throughout your body. Notice what qualities rise up within you. And what you'll notice is the qualities that I mentioned before with the tiny little one are the ones that rise up. And there was nothing we needed to do to have those. We didn't need to go out in the world and gather them. They were already innately within us. And you'll notice when you're in that state of flow or feeling at your best, you actually don't have a lot of thinking going on. Your mind's at rest, it's at peace, right? You're not focused there. There's your nature showing up to greet you.
It's a very I don't know how to say quiet sense of being, but it's like everything else is like blah. It doesn't, whatever. Yeah, you're right. It's a very deep sense of I'm okay. And you're right, I'm enough.
Yeah. The thing
it's perspective, isn't it? It's changing perspective.
Yeah, it's shifting out of your thinking mind. And the interesting thing, the interesting thing is everything in this outside world is going to keep pointing at your thinking mind. It's like, no, you got to think your way out of it. You've got to use this. We put this thing on an altar, like it knows. And yet, when we put this aside, this is fabulous for solving problems like how do I get from A to B, like from Lenox to Washington. That's fabulous. Great. Use this. It will figure out how to look at a map and figure out how to do a math problem and all. Fabulous. But what we don't recognize is we have this quality within us. When this is quiet, we're not focused completely on that. We go inward. We have this quiet. We have this ability to tap in to our wisdom, our common sense, that is actually always guiding us, always. It is helping us live life. So we don't often recognize that because we think this thing is in control, living us. And actually think about, you're not living, you're not breathing yourself, you're being breathed. Your heart is beating. You're not saying, okay, heart, go again. Okay, let's do it again.
Yeah.
None of that. There's trillions of things happening all at once, and you have no, this is not controlling it. Like, it is living you. And that same force that's living you also has the intelligence of the universe running through you. And so when you get quiet, and we've all had this experience, when we get quiet, sometimes we'll just have a knowing, and we don't know where that comes from, but we'll just have this nudge, this, oh, do this, go here. Something doesn't feel right here. And when we listen to that, we often find ourselves guided gracefully and beautifully through life. Instead of feeling all this insecurity and not enoughness and drama, like lots of drama. It loves it. It loves to, create the problems and then solve for those problems. But, as wonderful as this is, and it is our friend, it is trying to help us in the way it thinks, but there's something deeper within us when we can connect, as you said, like connect back with that. It's never gone. It's just obscured by a lot of thinking. When we can connect with that and feel that, life just is much easier. We don't take this thinking so seriously or so personally. We realize that thought is just arising within us and then moving on.
Yeah, I like that you said the brain is on the altar. It's like when we divided, I don't know, was it the Greeks or whoever, the brain from the body and everything, from the heart and everything. We separated it, and then why did one part become more important than the other parts? I've no idea. But it's about I like the little Russian dolls, because they are you can't put them in together unless they are in alignment. They don't fit together, do they? Yeah. So it's almost like, and so the title of this bit is called Role Modeling Confidence for Young Women. And the only way we can do that is to experience it ourselves, practice it ourselves, be it ourselves. Yeah. So to tap into that very small part of us that really knows and is so connected, and like I said, just joyful and pure love and abundance, and has everything. It doesn't believe that there is a lack of anything. It believes there is abundance of everything. And
yeah, that's right. And we're human, so we're gonna get tripped up by our thinking sometimes. So this is not about being perfect. No. It's not about saying, okay, I can never feel insecure anymore. That's bad. No, it's not. It's just thinking that we then interpret as, oh, this is a bad thing. This is not comfortable. As parents, we may hear this and say, okay, well, I'll tell my kids this. Kids aren't listening to your words. They're looking at what you're doing and how you're showing up. So the more you can see this for yourself, see that you're already well. You're already okay. There's nothing wrong with you.
It feels, sorry, Lana, it feels like you're coming against, I don't want to, I don't know another word for it, the spirit of the world. So like you're believing the opposite from what the world is telling you. So like media brings so much negative anxiety, and there's so much, the feelings are so high, and people are ruled by their feelings and you're saying, you know, like the opposite is true. and the world saying there's scarcity, there's not enough this and this.
Yeah.
And you're going, no, the opposite is true. And we're not connected, we're all disconnected, and you know, there's like, all everything's going to happen, and you go, no, the opposite is true.
That's right. It's just a misunderstanding. We just misunderstand it. We think that those feelings, again, are telling us what's true about the world out there. And we think that we're feeling the world. We're not actually feeling the world. We're feeling our thinking about the world. We're seeing the world through a perception of it that we've created. So that's why, you know, for example, somebody can go to a movie with somebody else and you'll come out of the movie and one person will say, oh gosh, that was the best movie. I loved it. I felt so inspired by that. And the other person will say, what are you talking about? That was so boring. I fell asleep. I started like going on my phone. I didn't see what you saw. We're living in these separate realities that way because we're living in our thinking. That's how we experience the world. So it's a misunderstanding that somebody can make me feel something. Not actually. What you're feeling is what your thinking is telling you. You're going to feel that thinking. That's going to be your reality. And we know this because, you know, two people in the exact same circumstance will have a completely different feeling and experience of that. And when you recognize, oh, where's my experience coming from? It's not coming from out there, even though the world will tell you, oh, yes, it is. And we'll have lots of commercials and marketing out there that says, hey, if you buy this, if you drink this, if you eat this, you're going to feel this. So the outside world is definitely telling us that messaging that, oh, have this out there, like social media, you look like this, then you're going to feel this. And that's not true. You will still feel your thinking, always and always.
Cool. So do we have time? Yes, I have a few minutes to ask you some questions. Here's one, and I think you can answer this for sure. Are some people born more confident than others?
You know, I used to believe that. I used to think, well, I don't know, like they just always seem confident.
More easier.
Yeah, it's just like, are you kidding me? Like they're just smooth through life, and I'm like, like affected by everything. I'm reactionary. I'm like feeling insecure. Okay, go back to the babies. Go back to how we started. We see it. We see it clear as day. You look at babies and they're in life. They are allowing experience to come through them and leave. They're expansive. They're joyful. They're miserable. They're all of it, but none of it means anything about them. They just show up and experience. And then this comes in and we start creating identities. And the interesting thing is for those people that were like, no, they just seem more confident. The difference is how their relationship with their thinking. How seriously do they take their thinking? How personally do they take their thinking? Now, they're in their own household and maybe their parents modeled, don't worry about that. Sleep on it, you'll be fine in the morning. Or, you know, have a tea, you'll see it differently. Like maybe their experience in the world was modeled like, never take that seriously. Don't worry about that. We all feel that sometimes, and then it's going to go away. Don't worry. You'll be right as rain. And others experience like an environment in which, nope, take it seriously. That means something, like you need to think your way out of this. You know, like who knows what environment or what our little kid mind makes up in a moment of insecurity about what the world is now. The world isn't safe versus the world's safe, and I have thinking, and I'm not going to take it too seriously. So the distinction really is what's their relationship with their thinking. And but I will say everybody experiences insecurity at some point. We all do. It's just part of being human.
And it's also part of growing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So it's like you said, it's trying to trigger you to wake up and see something. There's something you need to do that you're not quite doing right yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard in those teen years because, in those years, what's a teen trying to do? They're trying to figure out how they fit in the world. What is my identity? I'm expected to know what I'm going to do for life. They're trying to figure all that stuff out, which puts them right square right here all the time, front and center. So the best thing we can do is as much as possible, be present within yourself, because when you're present in your body, you're not in your head. When you're present, you can be there and actually listen to your child and come from a really deep place of love, no matter what they're experiencing.
Okay. So have you got one, we've got like 2 minutes. Have you got, I know you said about the hand, do you have another technique that we could experience being in the present we could do it easily, or, kind of easily?
Another little thing you can do to try to bring yourself to presence is just stare at one spot that's not going to be moving. So not your dog or your cat or anything, like a spot on the wall.
Okay.
Right? And you focus on a spot. Well, look over here. You focus on a spot. And then you bring yourself to an awareness of, say, 2 of your senses. So a sense of touch. So if my fingers are touching my fingers, I'm going to look at something and I'm going to notice that my fingers are touching my fingers. I'm going to feel that. I'm going to notice what I'm hearing, but not voices, like be in a room where there's not music, but just practice like what it is to be in my body. And this is a really good way of doing it. So looking at one spot, noticing touch upon touch within yourself. Notice thoughts are going to come in and you can just let them go right out, and then realign to focus on the spot. I'm staring at that spot and I'm focused on touch on touch. And if you practice this a few minutes a day, you're going to get acclimated to what it is actually to be present in your body. So many of us aren't. We're just not. We're in our head. We're in a thought bubble up here outside of our bodies. So we want to bring ourselves, we want to embody ourselves and know what it is to be really present here. So then we're much more aware of when we're not.
And it is a strange feeling. Well, I personally find it's a very different feeling from like it is now, when you just focus. And I was doing this and I was listening to the hum of my refrigerator, and it is a different experience. You do know when you're there, because it does feel very different.
Yeah, which goes to show how often we're not in our bodies, that we're not present. We're either in the future, imagining something scary usually, or we're in the past, like reliving something that was scary, obviously. Like we're living these two, but we're not here. And right here, right now, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
And that's the place where you are truly confident, and where you can choose from that place of confidence to just watch your thoughts, to do whatever you want to do, so to speak.
And realize those thoughts are not you.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Thoughts are just thoughts moving through you, telling a story, and they're not you.
Thank you, Lana. Loads to think about. I appreciate your time and your sharing and your book and everything. And I will connect with you another time. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Okay, take care. Bye. Bye-bye.